Okay, how do you feel about putting a staff together? Because now you're competing with Vrabel for guys. Have you heard the news? I know you've been on the road here in January. I know you've been recruiting, trying to put everything together. Mike Vrabel is now the head coach of the New England Patriots. That was announced officially. How do you feel about the move, and what are your thoughts on Mike Vrabel since he has become a coach after leaving as a New England Patriot, a multiple-time Super Bowl champion?
Yeah, I think Mike's done a great job. Certainly, his entry into coaching was no surprise to any of us that knew him and coached coached him at New England. I talked to him when he was at Ohio State, and then when he went to the Texans, and then of course at Tennessee, and we practiced against them, and stayed in pretty close contact with Mike. So I have a ton of respect for Mike. I think he does a great job. He's prepares his teams well. They're very good in situational football. They're tough. They're competitive. They're smart, just like he was as a player. I think the teams that he's coached and the position he's coached follow very much in his playing style and in his preparation style. So, I love Mike. I love everything that he stands for as a football coach, and I have a lot of respect for him. I'm sure he'll do a great job.
There's the clip running around of whenever he ran those delay of games with more than 5 minutes left in the clock. He kind of pulled a Belichick to you. And I think that was the moment that I think the whole world was like, oh, we get not just a meathead who loves a little nicotine. This is also a football genius. Do you remember that moment? And what are your first thoughts when you think back on it?
Yeah, I remember the moment, and the way the play was explained to us prior to that by the league office was a little bit different than the way that I thought it was officiated. I understood the rule. We did the same thing earlier that year, but it was kind of between myself, and what my understanding was from the officials on the way that was going to go. What he did was completely within the rules. As I said, it's something we had done. But that's Mike. Mike does a great job. He changed the game. When in the Colts. On Vanderjagt's miss in the opening, started the season opening game when he called the second time out and Vanderjagt missed. And then, Polian and the competition committee changed the rule the next week. So Mike's always been one to take advantage of those situations. He's a heady, smart player and coach.
Is it a lot of, what is your world right now? Are we still recruiting, putting together a staff? Where are you at right now down in North Carolina?
Yeah, definitely recruiting. A lot of guys going into the portal. Seems like every day, as team seasons conclude with the bowl games and then the playoffs here that are coming up. So a lot of guys in the portal, a lot of people contacting us, want to come to Carolina. My Instagram account's been busy. So scrolling through that, I never thought I'd be saying that, but here I am, joining the 21st century. So that's been good. So yeah, we got big weekends coming up. The weekend of the 4th, weekend of the 11th. A lot of guys coming in to visit and stuff like that. And so it's been fun. It's been good. Really enjoyed it. School's been great. Chancellor and the staff and administration have really been behind us, and so we got a lot of positive things going. But a lot of players want to come to Carolina, so that's a good thing. You see any good ones, send them our way.
Yeah, you got it. Hey, listen, no doubt about it. Cannot wait to see who ends up as a North Carolina Tar Heel under your watch down there. I think that's something that a lot of people would be excited about. I can't believe you're using your Snapface and MyFace DMs now to connect with people that potentially are in the transfer portal, but I love it. Let's talk about the 4th and the 11th. Is that when you're going to try to figure out if these guys are guys that you think could be Carolina guys, or is that them trying to get a feel whether or not they could fit in with your particular system? How does that kind of 4th and 11th weekend go in your eyes?
Right. Well, the weekend of the 4th, we're still, open on some transfer portal players before school starts. And then, just the whole month of January is kind of a big recruiting month. So, we'll just take them as it comes here.
Are you interviewing them to see if they're the type of guy or the type of player that you want in your building? Or are you selling the out of your program right now to a lot of people?
Yeah, both. Both. Not only recruiting the players, but as you know, in college, there's a lot of recruiting that goes with the parents and also with other people, high school coaches or people they train with, and so forth. Which is a little bit different than what it is in the NFL, but I'd say a combination of the first 2 days of pre-free agency, where there's a lot of talking going on before free agency actually opens, and the few hours after the draft when teams are trying to re-sign or trying to sign players to fill out their roster. where you're dealing with agents and players. It's some kind of combination of those two days.
Has it been
It's
more?
interesting, been doing it.
Go ahead.
Pardon?
No, go. You said you've been doing it for a long time. I was about to say, has it been more or less tasking than you thought going into it all?
Oh, it's just different. Yeah, it's just different. But it's good. It's again, you feel like you're just talking to younger players who have the same aspirations of being good and developing their career in college football to lead to the NFL, as opposed to college players who are actually out of eligibility and heading into the NFL. So it's a little bit different conversation, but it's kids that want to be good, kids that love football, and kids that want to play for your team, whether it was New England or Carolina. It's a lot of the same theme. Let's say the guys that I had, the Bradys, the Gronkowskis, the Brewskis, Mike Vrabels, Rodney Harrison, those guys wanted to play. They practiced all year. They worked all year. They wanted to play. They never said, "Hey, coach, put me in. I don't want to play football." They complained when they had to come out. Brady complained when I put the backup quarterback in to take 2 reps in practice on Wednesday and Thursday. He wanted to take every snap. So that really was never a problem. Guys coming to me saying, "Oh, I'm too good. I don't want to play," or, "Oh, I want to sit this one out." They wanted to be in there. So that was never too much of a problem. But in the end, I think you got to do what's best for your team. And honestly, if your team is in the playoffs, but you don't feel like they're playing very well, then I would play them more to sharpen up for the playoffs, because that not playing well going into the playoffs isn't going to last long. And so I think each coach has to, make that own determination. But look, if there's a player that is dealing with a chronic injury situation or chronic condition, then I would absolutely rest that individual player, because if he's at full strength, it just makes you a better team in the playoffs.
Okay, so
I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it does.
It's a long answer to a short question. What I would say, what I've always tried to do, and I changed a little bit on this with Brady. Okay, what I always try to do is you have 3 timeouts in the 2-minute situation. You use your first timeout between 2 minutes and 1 minute. You use your second timeout between 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then you use your third timeout sometime under 30 seconds. Now, that wasn't an absolute rule, but that was a rule of thumb. And so you really didn't want to have 2 timeouts with 20 seconds to go, and you didn't want to use 2 of your timeouts in the first 30 seconds of a 2-minute situation, where you didn't need to. And so that was kind of the progression. Now, there might be a certain play that would override that, but that was the general rule of thumb. And so you get down to that last 30 seconds, and the decision really is, do you save the timeout for the very end if you only have 1 timeout, not 2, which that's a whole nother conversation. But if you only have 1 timeout, do you save that for the very end, or do you use it a little bit earlier so you have more time? All right, but now the quarterback's got to manage it. And so Tom and I and Josh had this conversation probably in about, 13, 14, somewhere in there, because I had always wanted to save it for the end, especially if you need a field goal, so you didn't have to run the no-huddle field goal team on, that you could just take a timeout and go in there and kick it. But Brady said, look, I'd rather have more time and less timeouts, because it gives me more options than less time and a timeout.
Good to be on. Yeah, we're Steve and I are out recruiting in North Carolina here. First day we're allowed to be out, so here we are. We're on the road. So, hello, Steve.
Okay, so what up, DC Steve? How you doing,
Steve.
pal? Congrats on all the success with the Patriots. You're the man. You're the man. Go Tar Heels. Coach, okay, so we're on the road with you. You're literally FaceTiming from a car. What are you doing? You're visiting high schools right now, or how's the day go for you?
Yes. Yeah, a couple this morning, a couple this afternoon. We're also on. I'm officially on Twitter, so you can follow me there.
Have you been DMing, and have you been connecting, and have you been following trends for when you're recruiting these high schoolers, or how do you feel going into their world here and kind of talking to 17, 18-year-olds?
Yeah, it's fun, Pat. It really is. It's great. It's great to connect with these kids. They're so enthusiastic. They see their future ahead of them, both in college football and maybe beyond that. So it's exciting to talk to them. We're talking to some really good players. And, these guys, have a chance to have a long career. So, I just want to be a part of it with them.
Coach,
Go ahead, AJ.
Coach, I'd like to, if you could tilt the phone over to your son, to Steve, and ask him what it's like in his short time at North Carolina. Steve, what's up? Good to see you, buddy. What's it like working with your dad?
Steve.
Obviously, we know you've worked with your dad much in the past, but now at the college level, a new scenery, new place. What's it like being reunited, and what do you think your, this whole path is going to be?
I'm just excited to be here. Took the red eye a couple nights ago, so trying to build the staff, trying to build the team. We've got a long way to go, but yeah, got to hit the road now and see what's going to happen. Got to get some good players on the team, and figure it out from here. But got to get this guy on the road, bring him to college. He's dressed a little bit nicer than me, but it's all about the personality. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
Hey, a personality and the resume. It seems like you cut your teeth, obviously, with the greatest dynasty in the history of football. Then you go back to college to Washington last year. How big of an adjustment was it? What was it like coaching college versus the NFL?
No, I had a blast. I really appreciate Coach Fish, all those players out of UW. It was awesome. It was far from the East Coast, from the right coast, where I'm from. But no, it's good to be back here. But I love working with those guys. They're hungry, and we'll see what we can do here.
How important is it that the general manager and head coach are obviously on the same page? For you, I always say you're the greatest head coach of all time because you are. Everybody knows that. But you're also the greatest NFL general manager of all time because that was your title, although you say a lot of people helped you. Obviously, they did. But there's some places like Balky is going to be there again down in Jacksonville with a new head coach coming in. There's some places that have preferred to do that almost. How do you feel about the GM head coach relationship, and how did it become you did both?
Well, I think that, first of all, Pat, I think the more important relationship is between ownership and the head coach and general manager. It's really impossible to do both jobs, head coach and general manager in the NFL. General manager really means, to me, personnel, acquisition, draft, free agency, salary cap. Those kind of responsibilities fall to one person, and then the coaching falls to the other person. And so somebody just has to have the final say on that, whether it's the general manager or the head coach. It could be either one, but you still need another person to do those jobs. So, I was always very fortunate that I had Scott Pioli and then Nick Caserio, to do those jobs. And regardless of what my title was or wasn't, somebody had the final say, and I had that. But they did all the majority of the work in the other area. And if they had the final say, then I still would have done the same thing as the head coach. It's just that on certain decisions, they would have had the final say instead of me. But I think the more important relationship is between ownership, to have a shared vision with ownership between the head coach and the general manager in terms of what the organization is really trying to do and how they're doing it. And I think, a great example of that would be the Philadelphia Eagles, with Jeff Lurie and Howie and then, to Nick. You see it there. You certainly see it in Kansas City with, as I mentioned, with Brett, Andy, Hunt family. So you see situations like that. And when everybody's aligned and pulling together, you might not win a championship every year, which we didn't, but you're in it every year and you have a strong team and you can continue to build. Same thing in Pittsburgh with Coach Tomlin and, the Rooney family. And like that vision's really, that team's looked the same for the better part of 3 decades now, going back all the way to Cowher and even back before to the Chuck Noll era in a lot of ways. So that consistency and that shared vision, I think, is what's really important. And when you switch coordinators and switch coaches all the time, it makes it tough. Like in Cleveland, last year they go 11-5 or whatever it was, 12-5, and then fire the offensive staff, get rid of Flacco. Bring in new offensive coaches, bring Watson back, and it looks like they've gotten worse, and now they're making changes again. So it's just hard to build any continuity when you do it that way. So to me, if you have this shared vision all the way through the organization, which we had for 20 years at New England, then you have a chance to be competitive and be successful. Tony and Bill Polian and Jim Irsay, had that to a degree in Indianapolis. You saw it better than I did, but that it was always hard to play against those organizations. So I think it really starts at the top and works its way down. And when you don't have that, then honestly, it can fall apart pretty quickly.